Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lacey. I'm the owner of Milky Candles and I make videos about life in my 30s. Today I'm going to share with you 6 tips about launching seasonal products. When I first started my candle business, I would launch about 6 to 7 products every single season. Every fall, spring, winter, and summer. Until about a year and a half in, I realized, oh shit, I have way too much stuff after every single season and it's all going to waste. Because I'm also not a fan of sales, but we'll talk about that later on. Something that might be helpful to you is try to think of fall and winter as seasons that can be clumped together and spring and summer as seasons that can be clumped together. So in the transition seasons, which would be fall and spring, I would maybe put out 1 or 2 new scents if you feel inclined to put something out for the season. Then in winter and summer, you can add 1 or 2 more, depending on what your seasonal market looks like for you. I personally push more for winter than I do for summer, but that's because winter is holiday season and that's like a candle maker's dream season. Try not to treat every season as if it would be the winter or holiday season. Additionally, I would make seasonal candles in smaller batches, except for winter, of course, because again, that's your biggest money maker season. It means that you're not wasting as much money on supplies because you're not buying it in bulk. It does mean that because you're not buying in bulk, your products or your materials might cost a little bit more, but when it's all said and done, when you have a bunch of materials laying around because you bought too much stuff, it's better to buy some of the seasonal stuff in smaller batches. So make them in smaller batches and keep your raw materials like your wax and your wicks and your vessels and things like that for the stuff that you have selling all year. Now, with that said, I would only change 1 or 2 things from your normal collection for your seasonal items. I used to have new vessel colors, an entirely new vessel sometimes, custom boxes or packaging for the season, and honestly, you guys, that's where you're gonna waste your money. You likely will have a lot left over if you're just getting started, and you may not even use it next year because your ideas are gonna change. Or the opposite, maybe you sold more than you thought and you don't have any backup material to keep your product and packaging consistent, so you either dip into your year-round packaging or you just accept that you've sold out, which is also okay. But I would only change one thing, which for me would be the scent. I'm going to keep my vessels the same color as my year-round vessels. I'm going to keep my labels the same size and style as the labels I use for my year-round candles, so that if I don't sell as much as I was hoping I would, at least I can still use everything except for the fragrance oil on my other collections. So as much as I wanted a beautiful new colored vessel for the summer scents, I'm not going to be able to use those colors again unless it's next year, and I don't have storage for that. So I just need to stick with the vessels that I already have, even if it's a new season. Something else to consider is I don't like to have sales at the end of each season. I have my thoughts on sales, but ultimately as a small business owner, I'm taking a major cut in profit if I have a sale every single season to get rid of my stock. While I like giving my customers a sale occasionally, I find that if I do it consistently whenever I have leftover product, I'm essentially telling my customers they can wait out the launches until the end of the season and just still get whatever they want. And although that's great in theory, it has not been a great business practice for me, and I saw a big drop in sales during my launches. So scarcity is actually real, especially with small businesses. So if you don't get it now, then you might not get it at all, which unfortunately does drive sales and help build a functional customer base when you are not attracting people only when you have sales. I'm not opposed to having sales on occasion, but which is why I recommend making smaller batches until you can more accurately make projections about what you will be selling in the next year based off of what you've sold the year or 2 years before. You should be making them in smaller batches, and make sure that you're keeping notes somewhere. For example, there are scents this winter that I will not sell because I made a note next to it saying did not sell well, and I wouldn't have remembered that a year later. Think about how much space you do or do not have as well. I do not have a lot of space for any kind of backstock for sale or any kind of backstock for stuff that never sold to hold on for a sale, like a semi-annual sale. I only have space for my year-round scents and a couple seasonal scents. I do not have storage for seasonal materials, a ton of seasonal candles, backstock of sale items. Like, it's not feasible since I work out of my home and I don't have a studio. And if you are just starting your business, you might be doing something pretty similar. So I can't stress enough how important it is to have some of these slower seasons. If you're wanting to push something seasonal, be in small batches. Even think about your marketing. If you are going to outsource for marketing, I personally would not pay a person or company to photograph like my spring and summer scents. Not yet. Not while I'm just trying to get my feet on the ground. I would consider doing it for winter if my numbers were pretty good, if I was selling a lot throughout the winter season. But if I'm going to outsource a photographer, I'm going to ask them to take pictures of my year-round scents, and more specifically my best sellers, because I can get continuous use out of that all year. I would consider doing it for fall and winter, but I would only be using it for that season. My scents also might change next year. I might not even use that scent next year. It just limits how much I can use some pictures that I paid for. It's so easy to rush into doing stuff that's new and that just hit the market, but honestly, you guys, just try to keep things as consistent as possible so that you are not wasting money in the long run. You don't need a new vessel, a new box, and new labels every single time you have a new season, or even every holiday season. You don't need those things unless you can bet that you're going to use it next year if you don't use it all. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I look at my analytics all the time, and those two things help me figure out what videos you enjoy or don't enjoy seeing. I love you even if you don't love me back, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.